Leadership is not born in applause, it is forged in isolation, in the hours when no one is watching and no one cares, in the moments where quitting feels logical and continuing feels almost stupid. Because the core of leadership is not confidence gifted by success, but discipline carved out of pain, the kind of pain that teaches you who you are when every excuse is stripped away and all that remains is your decision to stand up again. Leadership begins the first time you choose responsibility over comfort, the first time you refuse to blame circumstances, the first time you look at your own reflection and admit that the gap between who you are and who you want to be can only be closed by your effort, your consistency, and your willingness to suffer in silence. Real leaders are not created when things are easy. They are revealed when everything is heavy, when pressure tightens around the chest, when fear whispers that you are not enough, and yet something deeper answers back and says, move anyway, work anyway, endure anyway. This is where the core of leadership lies, not in titles or positions, but in the internal war you fight every day against weakness, laziness, and self-doubt, a war that never ends and never gives you permission to rest on yesterday's victories. Leadership is choosing the hard path when no reward is guaranteed, waking up early when your body begs for more sleep, pushing through discipline when motivation has completely disappeared, because motivation is a visitor, but discipline is a resident. And leaders build their lives on what stays, not on what comes and goes. Every leader you admire has walked through seasons where progress felt invisible, where effort felt wasted, where results lagged so far behind work that it almost broke their spirit. But they kept going because leadership is not about immediate validation. It is about long-term conviction. The core of leadership is understanding that your emotions do not get a vote when your standards are on the line, that your mood cannot be allowed to dictate your actions. That consistency must exist even when passion is gone, because people who rely on feelings stay average, and people who rely on discipline change the world. Leadership demands that you become comfortable being misunderstood, comfortable being alone, comfortable carrying burdens others refuse to touch, because the moment you wait for approval is the moment you surrender your authority over your own life. Pain is not an enemy of leadership. Pain is its teacher, shaping resilience, sharpening focus, stripping ego, and forcing growth. And the sooner you stop running from discomfort, the sooner you begin to step into your power. A leader understands that struggle is not a sign to stop, but a signal that transformation is happening. That resistance is proof you are pushing past the limits of who you used to be. And that the fire you walk through today is the same fire that will harden you tomorrow. Leadership is choosing standards over shortcuts, principles over popularity, long-term vision over short-term pleasure, even when no one will ever know how hard it was except you. The core of leadership is built in repetition, in doing the same difficult things again and again without applause, without excitement, without guarantees, because excellence is boring before it is respected and painful before it is powerful. You do not wake up one day as a leader. You earn it through thousands of invisible decisions, through nights where sleep is sacrificed for growth, through days where discipline overrides desire, through moments where you show up even when you feel empty. Because leadership is not about feeling strong, it is about acting strong when you feel weak. Self-belief at this level is not blind optimism. It is earned confidence, forged by keeping promises to yourself, by proving through action that you can be trusted with responsibility, that when things get hard you do not disappear, you do not complain, and you do not fold. The core of leadership is the quiet refusal to quit, the relentless commitment to improvement, and the courage to carry pain without letting it poison your purpose. And this is only the beginning of the journey. Leadership is forged in the unseen moments, in the quiet corners where no one notices your effort. In the pre-dawn hours when the world sleeps and only your ambition stirs, in the relentless grind where failure is not an option because mediocrity is a betrayal of your potential. Because the core of leadership is not the recognition you receive, it is the relentless, uncompromising commitment to show up and deliver when every fiber of your being screams to quit. True leaders understand that comfort is the enemy, that ease and convenience will erode greatness faster than any external force, because the world does not reward average effort. It respects resilience, endurance, and those who choose discomfort over complacency. Leadership is standing firm when everything inside you wants to run, when fear threatens to paralyze, when doubt clouds vision, and yet you move forward anyway, fueled by the certainty that your actions define your legacy more than your intentions ever could. The core of leadership is found in the tension between who you are now and who you refuse to settle for being. And it is only through struggle, sacrifice, and relentless self-discipline that the chasm between the two is narrowed. Leaders are those who do not wait for inspiration, who do not chase fleeting motivation, who understand that real power comes from habitual effort, from showing up consistently, from doing the work that no one else is willing to endure because they are seduced by the illusion of immediate results. Pain is a constant companion to leadership. It is not a sign of failure, but a measurement of growth, a confirmation that you are stretching beyond old limitations, that every ounce of discomfort is a brick in the foundation of character, resilience, and authority. Every great leader has stared into the abyss of their own weakness and chosen action over fear, discipline over indulgence, perseverance over surrender, because the essence of leadership is the relentless refusal to allow circumstances to dictate destiny. Leadership is the ability to carry burdens others cannot see, to make decisions that others avoid, to take responsibility when excuses abound, and to bear the weight of accountability without complaint, because the world will not carry your dreams for you. The core of leadership is forged in repetition, in the daily commitment to push past resistance, to perform at high standards when laziness whispers for compromise, to honor promises made to oneself even when the reward is invisible, because integrity and consistency are the true measure of influence. Leaders embrace struggle as a teacher, not an obstacle. They recognize that every setback is a lesson, every failure a test, and every challenge an opportunity to refine vision, strategy, and character. Because without the fire of adversity, leadership remains theoretical and greatness remains dormant. Leadership demands courage, not the kind displayed on stage or in public, but the kind that is exercised privately, in choices made when no one is watching, when shortcuts beckon, when the easier path tempts you to surrender, because those choices accumulate into the authority, presence, and influence that define true leadership. Leadership is not about being liked. It is about being trusted to act decisively, to endure, to rise, to carry, and to lead even in the face of uncertainty, because trust is built in consistency and integrity, not in words, not in charisma, and not in fleeting popularity. The core of leadership is a constant battle against internal resistance, a daily confrontation with excuses, a discipline of self-mastery, and an unwavering commitment to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable every single day. And it is this commitment that separates ordinary individuals from the ones who inspire, influence, and transform the world around them. Every act of persistence, every sacrifice endured, every moment of discomfort willingly faced becomes a testament to the power of leadership rooted in relentless effort, self-belief, and the refusal to yield to mediocrity. Because leadership is ultimately the art of becoming the person others need when the world demands more than they can give themselves. The journey is brutal, unrelenting, and merciless, but this is the crucible in which true leaders are made, and once you embrace it, once you accept that struggle is the pathway rather than the obstacle, you begin to wield a strength that cannot be taken, a vision that cannot be blurred, and a presence that commands respect not by title, but by the consistency of action, the courage of conviction, and the depth of self-belief. Leadership is an unrelenting journey, a path that demands total commitment, where every step forward requires wrestling with doubt, pain, and the temptation to surrender, because the essence of leadership is not in fleeting victories, but in the unshakable resilience developed when the world tests your limits and nothing around you assures success. It is the quiet decision to act when excuses scream for delay, the refusal to compromise standards when shortcuts promise comfort, the discipline to show up when no one notices, and the courage to persist when failure seems inevitable. Because leadership is not a performance, it is a relentless demonstration of character under pressure. The core of leadership is revealed in adversity, in the weight of responsibility that no one else wants to carry, in the moments when fear, fatigue, and frustration collide and challenge your willpower, because it is in these crucibles that ordinary individuals either crumble or rise into leaders who inspire transformation. Every true leader has endured the sting of mistakes, the isolation of decisions misunderstood, and the relentless grind of effort unrecognized. Yet they persevere, understanding that greatness is not instant, that influence is earned over time, and that the capacity to endure hardship with integrity is the foundation upon which true authority is built. Leadership demands absolute honesty with oneself, the courage to confront personal weaknesses, and the relentless pursuit of improvement, because the moment you deceive yourself or rationalize mediocrity, you forfeit the chance to lead others effectively. It is in the repetition of disciplined actions, the consistency of effort, and the willingness to embrace discomfort that leadership truly manifests. Because power without preparation, influence without sacrifice, and vision without execution are meaningless illusions. Leadership is a daily choice, a commitment to rise above the inertia of the average, to transform pain into fuel, to turn struggle into mastery, and to convert obstacles into lessons that strengthen character, sharpen resolve, and cultivate an unshakable presence. The core of leadership is an internal battle fought silently, relentlessly, and invisibly. And those who emerge victorious are not always the loudest, the most charismatic, or the most praised, but those who consistently align actions with principles, who remain steadfast when tested, and who endure when easier paths tempt retreat. True leadership is an embodiment of discipline over desire, of endurance over comfort, of courage over fear, because each choice to persist, each sacrifice accepted, and each moment of resistance overcome is a brick in the foundation of authority that others will one day follow, not because they must, but because they are compelled by the example set. Leaders understand that struggle is not punishment, but the currency of growth, that failure is not defeat, but a lesson in resilience, and that the fire of adversity is the forge in which character, vision, and strength are tempered. The essence of leadership is not in the applause you receive, but in the integrity with which you navigate hardship, the patience to endure long before reward, and the courage to act when the path is unclear, because only through this process does one cultivate the belief, discipline, and perseverance that form the invisible backbone of true influence. Leadership is not a destination, it is a relentless journey through discomfort, discipline, and self mastery, a path where each day offers the opportunity to prove yourself not to the world, but to the unyielding standards you set for yourself. And in this way, the core of leadership is not taught in theory, it is lived through relentless action, unwavering commitment, and the refusal to ever settle for less than what you are capable of becoming. Leadership is not measured by comfort or convenience, it is proven in the relentless march through hardship, in the moments when everything inside you screams to quit, and yet you press forward because you understand that true strength is forged in struggle, and greatness is born from the discipline to persist when the world offers no recognition. Every leader has faced nights of doubt, days of exhaustion, and moments of fear that threaten to undo them. And what separates those who rise from those who fall is not luck, talent, or external circumstance, but an unwavering commitment to consistency, self-discipline, and the courage to act even when results are invisible. Leadership demands embracing responsibility when it feels heavy, making decisions when no clear path exists, and holding oneself accountable for outcomes that others would shy away from, because the core of leadership is the acceptance that the burden of action is always greater than the comfort of inaction. True leaders do not wait for motivation or external validation. They cultivate an internal force that compels them to act, to endure, to rise every time failure strikes, because they understand that self-belief is not a passive feeling, but an active choice, a decision to continue when every instinct whispers retreat. Discipline becomes the backbone of leadership, for without it, talent fades, passion dwindles, and potential remains unrealized. And it is through the mastery of self, through relentless training of body, mind, and spirit, that leaders acquire the resilience to confront challenges without surrendering to fear or fatigue. Leadership is forged in repetition, in showing up when no one is watching, in performing the difficult tasks daily that others avoid, because influence is not granted by position but earned through consistent, sometimes invisible effort. Pain is a constant companion in leadership, not as punishment but as a tool to cultivate endurance, sharpen focus, and build character, teaching lessons that comfort can never provide, and molding leaders into figures capable of guiding others through storms with clarity, courage, and unwavering resolve. To lead is to embrace struggle as an opportunity for growth, to confront personal weaknesses with brutal honesty, to accept responsibility for failures, and to persist through adversity with the conviction that every challenge is a stepping stone toward mastery. Because leadership is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to navigate it with integrity, courage, and relentless perseverance. Leaders carry burdens that others cannot see, make sacrifices that go unrecognized, and endure hardships that remain invisible to the world, yet they continue because their vision is anchored in purpose, their actions aligned with values, and their commitment unwavering, knowing that the impact of leadership extends far beyond the immediate and the visible. The core of leadership is the cultivation of resilience, the development of unwavering self-belief, and the relentless pursuit of improvement, because every obstacle faced and every challenge overcome builds the foundation for authority, influence, and the capacity to inspire others. Leadership demands a mindset that prioritizes long-term growth over short-term comfort, that values effort over applause, and that seeks excellence even when recognition is absent. For true leaders understand that their journey is defined not by accolades, but by the relentless pursuit of betterment and the courage to persist when it is hardest. Leadership is an embodiment of discipline, courage, and endurance, a daily practice of confronting fear, embracing discomfort, and mastering the inner battles that define character, because the world rewards those who show up consistently, act decisively, and refuse to yield under pressure. The essence of leadership lies in the choices made when no one is watching, in the sacrifices undertaken without acknowledgement, and in the unwavering adherence to principles when every voice around you encourages compromise. Because these are the moments that reveal true leaders, forged not in comfort, but in struggle, refined not by ease, but by persistence, and strengthened not by applause, but by self-mastery. Pain, struggle, and hardship are not obstacles, but the tools through which leadership is cultivated, and the individual who endures, adapts, and perseveres becomes a beacon of influence, a figure of trust, and a testament to the transformative power of relentless discipline. Leaders understand that every setback carries a lesson, every challenge an opportunity, and every moment of resistance a test of commitment. And it is through this process that the invisible qualities of leadership, resilience, courage, integrity, and unwavering self-belief, are forged into unbreakable strengths that guide not only themselves but all those who follow them. Leadership is not a gift handed down by circumstance or a product of luck. It is earned through relentless action, unwavering discipline, and the courage to face the unrelenting challenges of life without flinching, without compromise, and without apology. True leaders understand that the path to influence is paved with struggle, that every victory is preceded by countless unseen failures, and that the measure of a leader is not in accolades or recognition, but in the consistency of their effort when no one is watching, when the applause is absent, and when the only reward is the satisfaction of knowing they refused to surrender. Leadership requires the relentless pursuit of self-mastery, the courage to confront personal weaknesses with brutal honesty, and the resilience to continue when fear, doubt, and exhaustion threaten to overwhelm, because the essence of leadership is not comfort, it is the capacity to endure and thrive under pressure. The core of leadership is revealed in the choices made when the world offers no guidance, when obstacles appear insurmountable, and when internal resistance whispers that quitting is acceptable, because leaders are defined not by their circumstances, but by their decisions to persist, to act, and to maintain integrity regardless of external conditions. Discipline is the backbone of leadership. It transforms talent into capability, ambition into achievement, and vision into reality, for without the repeated commitment to perform the difficult tasks that others avoid, potential remains dormant and greatness unfulfilled. Pain is not a barrier but a teacher, shaping resilience, sharpening focus, and strengthening character, and those who embrace it cultivate the inner fortitude necessary to lead others through uncertainty, adversity, and turbulence with clarity, authority, and unwavering resolve. Leadership demands sacrifice, not as a burden but as a conscious choice, to prioritize long-term growth over short-term comfort, to act on principle rather than impulse, and to hold oneself accountable even when the world offers excuses, shortcuts, and easy alternatives. True leaders do not seek validation, they create it within themselves by honoring commitments, persisting through hardship, and demonstrating reliability, consistency, and courage. Because trust, influence, and respect are earned, not given, and they are built on the invisible foundations of discipline, perseverance, and character. The journey of leadership is defined by repetition. By showing up every day, by performing the unseen work, and by embracing discomfort as an essential instrument of growth, for it is through daily practice, relentless effort, and the refusal to yield that leaders sculpt their capacity to inspire, guide, and transform those around them. The core of leadership is the ability to convert adversity into advantage, struggle into mastery, and challenge into opportunity, understanding that every test of endurance, every moment of resistance, and every decision to act with integrity strengthens the foundation upon which influence, authority, and vision are built. Leadership is a journey of relentless self-improvement, disciplined action, and uncompromising integrity, a process in which each choice to persevere, each act of courage, and each moment of resilience accumulates into a force that shapes not only the leader themselves, but the world they impact. Those who embrace struggle, who rise after failure, and who persist when all seems lost are the true architects of influence, the ones whose presence inspires, whose decisions matter, and whose consistency under pressure transforms potential into reality. The essence of leadership is not in the absence of difficulty, but in the mastery of it, the cultivation of inner strength, and the relentless commitment to act decisively, consistently, and courageously in the face of adversity. Because it is through this crucible of struggle and discipline that the invisible, unshakable, and transformative core of leadership is revealed. Leadership is not about comfort, recognition, or the accolades that others may bestow. It is about the relentless pursuit of excellence through struggle, discipline, and unwavering self-belief, even when the path is treacherous and the outcome uncertain. Because the essence of leadership is forged in the crucible of challenge, where pain becomes a teacher, failure a guide, and persistence the only currency that guarantees growth. True leaders understand that their greatest battles are often internal, fought against doubt, fear, and the temptation to settle for mediocrity, and that the strength to endure, to rise, and to act decisively comes not from external validation, but from the deep-seated knowledge that their responsibility to themselves and others outweighs all excuses. Leadership requires the courage to face adversity head on, to make decisions when the stakes are high, to act when clarity is clouded, and to hold steadfast when the world around you seems determined to pull you off course. Because it is in these moments of resistance that character is built, influence is solidified, and the core of leadership is revealed. Discipline is the backbone of leadership. Without it, talent falters, vision fades, and potential remains dormant. For true leadership is not an expression of momentary inspiration, but the consistent, often unseen, commitment to perform, to endure, and to excel when no one is watching, when recognition is absent, and when the rewards are invisible. Pain, struggle, and sacrifice are not enemies of leadership. They are the instruments through which resilience, clarity, and authority are forged, shaping leaders into individuals capable of guiding others through uncertainty, adversity, and conflict with unwavering resolve. The core of leadership is the daily choice to rise above limitation, to embrace responsibility, to endure hardship, and to persist with integrity, understanding that every decision to act with courage, every moment of discipline, and every sacrifice made in silence contributes to the strength and credibility that others will eventually follow. Leadership demands consistency, patience, and an unyielding commitment to long-term growth over short-term ease, for the measure of influence is not in immediate results, but in the accumulation of disciplined effort, repeated action, and persistent integrity over time. True leaders convert adversity into opportunity, obstacles into stepping stones, and challenges into lessons that refine their vision, sharpen their focus, and strengthen their ability to inspire, guide, and transform those around them. The journey of leadership is not linear, and it is never free of struggle. It is a continuous process of confronting weakness, embracing discomfort, and exercising the courage to act when fear and uncertainty prevail, because leadership is not defined by circumstance, but by the unwavering commitment to act, endure, and improve despite it. Leadership is ultimately the mastery of self, the cultivation of inner strength, and the relentless pursuit of purpose, vision, and excellence. For it is through this mastery that leaders become the pillars of influence, the sources of inspiration, and the catalysts of transformation for everyone who looks to them for guidance. Pain, persistence, and discipline are the hallmarks of true leadership, and those who embrace them fully, who commit to relentless self-improvement, and who act with integrity in every circumstance, become more than individuals. They become forces that shape the world around them, demonstrating that the core of leadership is not a title, a position, or recognition, but the invisible, unshakable, and transformative power of consistent action, self-belief, and unwavering courage.